Hello, welcome to Talk to Mentor Season 2, where we teach you the ins and outs of being an author on Webnovel. Today's topic will be on the golden 3 chapters, so stay tuned and take everything in. In online literature, we call the first 3 chapters the golden 3 chapters. This means that the loss of readers in the first 3 chapters is often the largest. If writers can keep the readers in the first 3 chapters, there's a high possibility that readers will continue to read on despite having dull arcs right after. The opening plays an extremely crucial role in the golden 3 chapters. The first is to elicit the story, and the second is to attract readers. So, part 1, a simple opening. A good opening is essential for any story. A reader's attention span is limited, and oftentimes they will only select a few books to read from the vast selection of web novels available. Treat it like eating at a food court. Your stomach space is limited, so you can only choose a few items. Thus, if your story opening doesn't attract their attention, then there's a high chance that they will abandon your novel. A lot of newer authors on the platform write their novels in the format of traditional published novels. Web novels can be considered the new gen publishing. Therefore, much like YouTube, the videos have strayed away from what traditional media would consider as normal. For example, in a YouTube video, they always put parts leading up to the climax first. This is to entice viewers to stay throughout. Had they started off like traditional videos, viewers would have already clicked off quickly. To a beginner writer, there are only 2 criteria on which constitutes a good opening. Your story should be simple and interesting. But what if you have difficulty in writing an opening? There are no hard and fast rules. However, if you are a beginner in writing, here's a trick you can use. Write as if you are writing a resume. Like writing a resume, you will want to introduce your story in the most direct way possible. Introduce to the readers who your protagonist is, the name of your protagonist, the backstory of your protagonist, and what is his current situation, and what are the factors that will propel him forward in the future. Be sure to establish your main character well, mention their purpose, their goal, and a brief overview of the world setting in your opening, just to whet your reader's appetite. You can use the 5W and 1H method to help you with your brainstorming. Identify the who, what, when, where, why, and hows of the novel and see if they fit in the first 3 chapters. Once you have established a simple opening, make sure the bones are in place before making it beefier. Always remember the golden 3 chapter rule. The first 3 chapters of any story is the most important part of the story. But what's important about it is not the content itself, but the space that the words occupy. Imagine that you get into an elevator with a famous producer and you have only 25 seconds to tell your story. What will you tell him? So tip number 1 would be to cut out all unnecessary information. Be sure not to bore your readers with unnecessary information. Think carefully whether the dialogues, description, and words in your opening chapters are essential to your story. If deleting them doesn't impact your main story in any way, delete them. Be sure not to start your story with something mundane, like your main character's waking up from his bed, brushing his teeth, and having breakfast, because practically no one wants to read that. Reduce the number of key information in your opening. Key information refers to information that your readers will subconsciously pay attention to, such as character names, relationships, world settings, unique terms, and so on and so forth. This is because every time a new character appears, readers will have to spend energy and time to understand the character's identity and their relationship with the main character. This will reduce the reader's attention span and subsequently drop your novel if they find your novel a chore to read from the beginning. So number 3, shift your novel's selling point to the beginning. Think about your main elements of the story and what makes it interesting. Shift your story's selling point to the first 3 chapters. It will help in attracting more readers. Engaging opening. Though simple openings are easy to write, you will want an especially interesting one if you are looking to pull readers in completely from the start. Presenting a crisis for your characters at the beginning is a good way to draw readers in, encouraging them to read further to find out what happens and how your character escapes or triumphs the predicament. Starting in a future event before returning to the present is also a viable way to start off a story. You can combine it with the above point for added effect, like having your character falling off a cliff after being pushed by someone they trusted. The story will then go back to the events that led to the push. Though the most outlandish and crazy start would be a good attention grabber for your opening, You also need to keep in mind that your ability to explain and justify these events would be crucial in keeping the readers here. If things happen for no reason, the readers would know and start to question you, which ultimately breaks them away from your story that you are trying to put them in. I hope you have a clearer understanding of the Golden 3 chapter rules, and thus concludes this episode. I'll see you soon. Check out part 4 in the description below, hit that subscribe button for more content. See you on Webnovel.